Hi, this is Mike from the PlumbingSupply.com. Previously, we took a tank off of a toilet to fix a wobbly toilet, and now we're going to replace all the gaskets and show you how to put it back on the toilet. Since the tank is off, we're going to take the fill valve out and the flush valve out and put new washers where it seals against the bottom of the tank. Okay, well, first we're going to replace the gaskets on the fill valve and the flush valve. In order to do that, we're going to have to put the tank over on its side so we can unscrew the nuts on the bottom. We're going to take off the fill valve nut first. We're going to use a crescent wrench to do it. They're not usually tightened too tight, so it doesn't take a lot of pressure to get them to loosen up. As you can see, that's probably enough. In this case it is. So I'm just going to hold it from the inside and unscrew the nut. Okay. Once we've taken the fill valve out, we just take the gasket off of the bottom and we're going to replace it with a new gasket. Now the new gasket is a generic gasket, and it is coned, and it will work just perfectly. Now we have the new washer on here. You want it to be fairly tight because you don't want it leaking around the threads at all. So it is a really good snug fit. Now we're going to put the fill valve back inside through its original hole. We're going to tighten it down, hand tightened. Oh, it's nice and snug. Doesn't even need to be just a wrench. You can use maybe a quarter of a turn more and then to seal it. We're going to replace these bolts because they're old and kind of corroded on the inside, so we want to replace them. We're going to use new brass bolts. You can see they have a slot in there for a screwdriver, so we use a fairly good sized screwdriver to get them loosened. And we're going to put them in, put the screwdriver in, line it up with the nut. And take a crescent wrench and unscrew them. Okay, now we're going to take off the flush valve to replace that washer inside the tank. And so to do so, we're using a smooth jawed wrench, a fairly good size one, because we need to, that nut is pretty big, so we're going to unscrew it. Once you initially loosen it, it pretty much comes out hand tight. Okay, now we're going to take off the gasket on the flush valve. You can see they're pretty on there, pretty tight. And as you may have noticed in the rest of the video, things that we try to take apart don't always come off as easy as they go on. Now we're going to put the new one on. It's just going to slide up pretty easy, as you notice. It's not had years of being pressed in place. Now that the gasket's back on, we're going to place it in the tank so we kind of get an idea where it should be, so it's out of the way of anything else. Once you have it positioned, hold it in place and then tighten on your nut from the bottom. You can see sometimes it wants to move out of place, but my hand inside is putting it back right where it was, so it's not going to be a problem. And then we're going to tighten it down. You don't have to really tighten it too hard. That gasket's going to squish against the bottom, and if you try to tighten it too much, you're going to have a chance of really breaking your tank, which you don't want to do. We're now ready to put the TanktoBowl bolts and washers in. You first want to put the metal washer on the bolt first, and then we're going to put the rubber one on. That one then goes through the top of the tank, through the interior of the tank. And then we're going to use a metal washer and a nut to tighten it against the tank. Okay, we're going to tighten these bolts down snug against here. You don't want to go too snug, but you want to get snug enough to where the washer inside holds water and doesn't leak. So in this case, since these are pretty big bolts, and I want to have it easily to tighten down, I'm using a long screwdriver and a crescent wrench. Just where it's snug. Ready to put on the washer between the tank and the bowl. You can see it's indented here, and it's got some marks. You can line it up with the nuts. When you line it up right, it fits right over the nut perfectly, snug and tight to seal any kind of water that could possibly come in between the tank and the bowl. Okay, we're now ready to put it on to the bowl. Tricky part is getting it lined up so the nuts and the bolts are right in. Alright. You can see it wobbles a little bit, but that's okay, because as you tighten it down, it won't wobble. We're now ready to tighten the bolts onto the bowl itself, and we're going to use some washers, 2 washers on each side, and then a couple of wing nuts to just tighten it up. What we're going to do is tighten it up evenly, so we do 2 turns of tightening on this side, 2 turns of tightening on this side, so it tightens up evenly. If you don't tighten it up evenly, you're going to break your tank. It'll just crack it right in half, so you have to be careful at this point. You can see it's all put back together now. It's not rocking forward, sideways. The tank is snug and tight. Flushes and refills and no leaking. Hi, this is Mike Palmer from PlumbingSupply.com. I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you for watching.